Happy Black History Month, everyone, and welcome to WestLINK, where we connect to talk about relevant topics. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and I would like to invite you to please like, comment, and subscribe to our Toronto West channel, WestLINK. I'm your host, Jeffrey B. Evans, author and poet. I also attend the Canisius Fellowship STA Church. I'm a frontline worker fighting that COVID battle as a fourth-year nursing student, as well as a medical radiation technologist at North York General Hospital, as well as St. Joe's, both located here in Toronto. But that's besides the point. Today's program is going to be exciting, filled with laughter, reflections, and of course, some interesting revelations. We'll be exploring the African diaspora from Proverbs to Proverbs on the three segments: wisdom, love, and life teaching. You see, the book of Proverbs is better known to many as the Proverbs of Solomon. It's located in the third section of the Christian Old Testament. Proverbs is not merely an anthology, but it's a collection of collections based on patterns of life and living. The book of Proverbs reflects biblical wisdom literature and raises some interesting questions on values, moral behavior, meaning of human life, and right conduct. The theological foundation, as you put it, is centered on the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Now, persons of African descent, we're celebrating Black History Month, have always used oral tradition to catalog our history. And as for myself, as for many who have grown up in African homes, we've used cultural proverbs. Today, we'll be exploring the intersection of biblical proverbs and cultural proverbs, as we hope to find a common ground in what is reflective of our Christianity, our humanity, and our resilience. Today, with me will be four amazing, this is going to be fun. It's like a family reunion. I have with me Sister Elder Layla Seal. She's a first-generation Canadian from Barbados, French heritage, of course. She resides in Mississauga, Ontario, and of course, she goes to my church, Canisius Fellowship. Also on our panel this afternoon is Janice Anderson, a proud first-generation Canadian with strong Jamaican roots and a traced history to Ghana, West Africa, where she was crowned, by the way, as Atso Naimiba. I hope I get that right. We got to talk more about what that really is about. I love the idea there. She hails from Ottawa, our capital of Canada. Our spiritual community and fellowship is the Ottawa STA Church. As well, she wants us to know that Toronto West STA is forever her first love. Also with us is Pastor Damson Opong. We welcome Pastor Opong. He's the Ministerial Secretary of the Ontario Conference, and he also hails from West Africa, Ghana. He's known as a pastor of pastors. We'll get more into that, what that looks like. And last, but certainly not least, we have Colville Saint-Hilaire, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, indeed, sweet Trini. All right, affiliated with the Point 14 STA Church in Trinidad. Elder Saint-Hilaire is the vice principal of Caribbean Union College Secondary School, located in the scenic Maracas Valley on the campus of the University of the Southern Caribbean. Before we get into our first little break, I'm going to have each of our guests give us a 30-second snapshot as to really what they're about. We'll start with Sister Elder Seal.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a big shout out to my Toronto West family. How's the doing? I have bloodlines also to Caribbean, Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, St. Vincent, you name it, we got it. An interesting factoid about me and my great-great-great-great-grandmother. We can't trace our lines back to any particular African country. We just know she was given the anglicized name Mary Ashy, which is probably an insult. But that was my great-grandma. She was a slave, and that's all we know about her. But one day, I'm looking forward to her tenacity, her resilience, her humility, her staying power, and her wisdom. And I just want to say that I'm also a proud graduate of USC. So shout out to all the Solutions and USC graduates on the line.
Awesome. Thank you, Sister Leila. Janice Anderson, let's hear from Ottawa.
Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue, bon sabbat, Shabbat Shalom, hello. It's really awesome to be here with you to celebrate Black History Month. I tell everyone it's my Christmas. Fun fact about me, Jeffrey, you sort of pronounced my African appointed name correctly. It's Ajua Niemaba, and a number of years ago I had the privilege and joy of taking a journey to the space where our ancestors, at least a part of our ancestors, were from, and stood in the place where my Jamaican ancestry comes from. And I was given a new name as part of that journey. So I'm super blessed to be here and to be a part of this dialogue with awesome people.
Awesome, awesome. Let's hear from Trinidad and Tobago. Brother Colville, Saint-Hilaire.
Yeah, I'm from that cosmopolitan country, and I think I'm a good representative of Trinidad. My grandfather on my father's side, he was Scottish. My grandmother was African. My grandmother on my mother's side was East Indian. And my grandfather was African. So I represent a kind of cosmopolitan society, Trinidad and Tobago. And watch it, this is Carnival weekend, so I may just start to jump for Jesus. Look out.
I love it. I love it. And as they would say, that's a pilau. It's a mixed pot of things. Okay. All right. Before we finish off here, Pastor Apong, give us about your experience.
Well, I am from Ghana, born and raised, and living here in Canada. And as you mentioned, I'm a pastor in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Ontario. My role now is to be the pastor's pastor, to walk beside them and to help them to be the best that God wants them to be. That's what I do now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. These are, folks, my 4 esteemed guests. But before we get to segment 1, which will be on wisdom, let us just jump to a video which will get things buzzing.
Caribbean Proverbs from a Corn Island native. All cassava get same skin, but all not taste the same way. Explanation. People may look alike, but all act differently. Bad thing never got owner. Explanation. No one wants to take responsibility for a mistake or bad situation. All fish does bite, but shark does get the blame. Explanation. Those with a history of bad behavior are always the first one accused. Chicken Mary, hot de near. Explanation. Danger lurks nearby when there's too much merriment and excitement. Cock mouth kill cock. Explanation. Choose your words with care, lest you draw unpleasant or unwanted attention to yourself. Donkey get long ear, but he don't like to hear your own story. Explanation. People don't like to take criticism. Every mickle make a muckle. Explanation. Every little bit adds up. Fattening frog for snake. Explanation. Taking care of a woman only for a next man to enjoy her. Fishermen never smell his own basket. Explanation. People are oblivious to their own faults and flaws. Fala fashion monkey can buy good soup. Explanation. People will deprive themselves of basic necessities in order to keep up with the fashions of others. Han go, han come. Explanation. As you give, so shall you receive. Hungry Mick cat eats salt. Explanation. Necessity or hard times forces people to do strange things. Hog nowhere to rub his skin. Explanation. Bullies know exactly who they can abuse. You shake man hand, you no shake him heart. Explanation. Appearances can be deceiving. You borrow money, I make enemy. Explanation. That always comes between friends and family. When he ain't got horse, ride cow. Explanation. Use the resources available to you.
I tell you, boy. So welcome back, everyone, and welcome to our viewing audience. We're going to start off this section on the wisdom. And I would like to throw out my version of a cultural proverb. And I'm going to change my accent every now and then. I might go from Jamaica to Trinidad. I might go to Barbados with the accent. You just got to figure out where I'm coming from. But ultimately, I'm going to be Canadian in it all. Time longer than a rope. It's what I've heard that expression growing up in a Jamaican household. And it took me many years to understand it. I have my take on it. But for the Canadians listening, it means time is longer than rope. Time longer than a rope. So to my viewing or to my guests, I would like to throw it out there. Anybody can jump in. What is your take on time longer than a rope?
Sounds like a whole lot of working going on there, boy.
Well, I think for me, as a Canadian, it's all about timing, inflection of voice, and the moment in which these proverbs are being expressed. And I think we'll cover that as we go on. But as someone who identifies proudly and strongly as a Christian and feminist, it means that I just need to wait. I don't need to commit the word murder. I can wait it out.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. A little controversy. Remember, we have a pastor online.
I can get baptized later. It's fine.
That's right.
Let's use the time on the rope, Janice. Hold on.
Yes. We will see. We'll go to the frozen part of the Lake Ontario and sort her out. The Lawrence River. Anyway, time longer than rope. What I take from that, which we have a similar proverb that's similar. What it means to me, my understanding is that time really tells. That time eventually reveals what is. So whatever it is that you are you have in the present situation, it's not an end in itself. There is a better day coming. And so, another way of rendering is that looking at it is time reveals truth. I
love that. I love that indeed. Before I put my little 2 cents and 1 cent and 5 cents in, we'll go all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago and find out if Brother Coville have anything to say.
Oh, yes. Well, time longer than rope. Rope there would be a situation that we think is the end and it's the ultimate state that we will have to endure. But time heals everything. The situation is not the reality. Time reveals everything, and every bad situation can be healed with time. So don't bother with the rope that we have now. Time could get rid of it and things could turn around and we have a better life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sister Leila, did you have anything to add to the expression time longer than a rope?
But I see Joy posting there. You cannot outrun time.
Ooh, yes.
You cannot outrun time. And fortunately, when I think of rope in that context, like I never grew up hearing that proverb in Barbados. But when I think rope, and forgive me, this might be a controversial illustration, but I think of a hanging. And how we used to hang people for like really grievous crimes. There are times where, like, my grandmother used to say, like, you don't need to worry about punishing somebody, leave them to God, because eventually when time catches up with them, they will pay for what they have done. So if you wait it out, you have a little patience, it will usually take care of itself one way or another.
Awesome. And I see Erica St. Louis Sorry?
Yeah, I was just going to pop in and say that, going back to how it's used in the tone, is it a threat or is it a place of comfort, right? So the tone, for me, as a Canadian, is always important, and amongst which company and in what context. And those proverbs land differently when it's layered and applied in different ways.
Absolutely. I'd like to give a shout out to Erica before and now Shauna K. Campbell. These are online guests who are dropping into the conversation. I love it. And now we have Paula Marshall. I think I know who that is. There's more time than you realize. And Herbie Alexander, my take on it is time will tell. Now, I have a little take on it too as well. And I was thinking about it over the night, where I look at time and rope. And rope could be synonymous to the goals that we set for ourselves. We're in a culture right now, and I think we're guilty. Everyone is guilty of wanting to just do away with the process. Nobody wants to go through the process. Everybody wants to get to the product of which is their goals. Just want to get from A to Z real quick. And I think time longer than rope is saying, be patient. Be patient. You work hard until your time comes. You cannot disregard the process, because it's in that process you really get the development you need and the experiences you need to make you stronger, that when you get to your goal, you can really shine. Marcia Watts, there is an end to a rope. I like that. And time goes on and on. I love the feedback we're getting from our live viewers. This is very good. Keep it going. Time longer than rope. So, okay. So let me hear another Proverbs up from the wisdom section. Let me hear Sister Leila. You have any Proverbs on the wisdom?
I have one, and it's a real Bajan one. The higher up the monkey go, the more you show it tail. And I know I'll have to translate that for the Canadians, but I'll say it again. The higher up the monkey go, the more you show it tail. And I translate it in English as the more you show off, the more your faults are brought out into the open. And, like Janice was saying, depending on the situation, depending on the inflection, depending on how I say it, said softly, it could be said harshly. But what I wanted to highlight there too is the wisdom in Proverbs, the actual book of Proverbs. I'm using the Claire word today. Proverbs 16:18. Proverbs 16:18. Pride leads to self-destruction, and arrogance to a man's downfall. Pride leads to self-destruction, and arrogance to a man's downfall. There's so much godly wisdom in our African heritage that a lot of times we're not quite aware of, and it's all right here in this very African document, the Word of God.
I love it. I love it. Let me hear the panelists' feedback on this one. The higher the monkey goes, it shows its tail.
Well, in Trinidad, we say it in a different way. Monkey don't see your own tail. Monkey don't see your own tail. But you go up there and what happens? It would remind me of that advice we got from Christ. You're seeing the mote in somebody's eye and you have a beam in yours. So monkey don't see your own tail. So that the more people criticize, the more you see their realities and their own faults. But we need to examine ourselves. Look at our tails sometimes.
I love it. I love it. I'm interested to hear a Canadian perspective on this one. From Anderson.
I have a slightly crasser perspective on it, which will be uttered after Sabbath. But basically, it's a quote about humility, right? And I know that when I've heard it, used it, and expressed it amongst Black people, predominantly those of us who work in the federal public service where I am, it stands as our reminder that monkey going up we're going to see the faults. We're going to see the underside of that creature, the higher that it goes up. And it stands as a way of galvanizing our faith as Black people in the federal public service, to be still in our knowledge and in our commitment to excellence in working in a system that is often difficult for us as Black people.
I love that. Pastor Pong, your perspective on this?
That there's a Ghanaian proverb that goes alongside that it says that whoever is cutting the path, in the bush, doesn't know that the back is crooked. And so, when you are leading, be careful to carry the people who are behind you. That sometimes because you are exposed, and they are the ones who actually, it reveals who you are. They are the ones who see you for who you really are. And so if you are leading, or if you are in a position of elevation, be careful, because the people down there can see you for who you truly are, or they can see that you are not that straight yourself. And so you need to be gentle with everyone.
I love it. And we're getting a lot of good feedback online. Joy Bell, Erica, we saw you earlier on the underside, underbelly. In Jamaica, it is the higher the monkey climbs, the more it exposes. And I mean,
finish the sentence. Dot. And I just want to say a shout out to Joy Bell, who is my sister in Ottawa. So thank you, Joy, for being here today. Yeah.
We love Joy Bell. Yes, from Ottawa. My take on this is actually this particular proverb reminds me of messages to young people. I can't believe I'm quoting this book, one of my first books I've been gifted. I'm being a real Adventist today, boy, I tell you.
Wow.
And there's a section in that book titled accountability to your light, or of your light. And I believe it's true that Janice says, in terms of the humility piece, is that we're called as God's people, not just to witness to ourselves, but to witness to others. And so the higher you might go as life brings you along, you must remember to be accountable to your light. All right. We'll take one more Proverbs in this section. Let's go to Pastor Pong. I want to hear something from West Africa. I want to hear something shocking and revealing. Come on, let me laugh.
No. This is, I have to be careful and keep it Sabbath, you see. And so keep it to the Sabbath taste. I just, there's a proverb of wisdom. It says, a broomstick can be easily broken, but the bunch remains unbreakable. And so that is the transliteration. The translation: a broomstick can be easily broken, but the bunch remains unbreakable. And it talks, Psalm 133, talks about how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. It's about unity, that together we achieve more. And so you think about, this brings to mind, this is Black History Month, and keeping to that, imagine how many times the Jewish dollar circulates in their community, and how many times our dollar leaves our community. And so it's important that we work together. We love pulling each other down, but rather supporting each other. It's better than only one person just, being a maverick and trying to do things so that everybody will see that I am Black and I have succeeded, the others haven't. But so you carry many people with you. And so when a broom is by itself, it can easily be broken. But when it's bunched up together, it's unbreakable. Imagine unity. In unity, there is strength.
Oh, I love it. Pastor is preaching this afternoon. This is a sermon. I love it. Yes, Sister Leila, you go right ahead, Elder. You go right ahead.
Right away, I get a visual. And like Janice is saying again, context adds so much. The visual I get right there is of an old-time coconut whisk broom.
Yes,
that's it.
Coconut, and you strip the piece and you save the spine.
That's it.
You can break that. Kids play with it. I got a lot of licks with those, by the way. All around my foot, right?
And you probably deserved it all, right?
Oh, Pastor, thank God for the grace of Jesus. But when you save those and you put them together, and they would get an old can, and you take the top off the can and the bottom off the can, and you make sure the edges are turned in, and then you stuff all those sticks in that can, and that becomes the handle. Now, when you get liquid, that broom, that is magic. Without one coconut whisk by itself, you would snap that. A child could snap that. But the whole broom, not happening. Sometimes, even as people in our experience, we discount our individuality and our importance as one Black person. We're often so down-pressed. But if we would stick together, unconquerable.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I want to affirm the imagery as someone who has a literature background, because the visuals are so important to the Proverbs, right? And we come from a culture that is so visually rich, that brings to life these Proverbs. So for me, as a Canadian, that has no context to this broom analogy or this the stripping of the coconut as you've described, Layla. I get it, because the visual imagery is so powerful, and it has been transposed in so many different proverbs that collectively it creates a story, a narrative for me that I can understand, and a language that I can relate to in my own diasporic context. So that's really cool.
Awesome. And this is a beautiful segue into our next video, which is titled I Know Who I Am. We'll come back in a few short minutes with segment 2. That was all about wisdom.
We are a chosen generation, called for to show that all I require for life, all I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation. We are a chosen generation, called for to show that all I require for life, God has given me.
Amen. Man, I don't know about you, but I was jamming back here. Man, that was fun. All right. Welcome back, everyone. If you join us, we are here from Trinidad and Tobago, from Ottawa, from Mississauga, from Toronto. And yes, we're even representing West Africa, Ghana. And we're talking about Proverbs across the diaspora. We left off in the section of wisdom, but we're not going to leave this section without hearing from Sister Janice and Brother Corvell regarding their proverb. So we'll start with Sister Janice Anderson. Give us your take on the section of wisdom, a proverb that you've grown up listening to or hearing about.
Okay, let me see. Wisdom here. I'm going to do one in French. How's that? Okay. Attention, pas capon. Attention, pas capon. And it means being cautious is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. And I think that is just so powerful. My Haitian brother shared this one with me. And I think it just speaks and resonates for itself. And the book of Proverbs, from end to end, cover to cover, says exactly this.
I love it. I love it. I also want to throw it out that our viewing audience to respond to this as well. So we're looking for feedback from our viewing audience regarding this particular proverb. Janice, just repeat for us again in French and give us the English interpretation.
Attention, pas capon. So being cautious is a sign of wisdom, not weakness.
I love it. I love it. Pastor Palm, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's important that the way you approach life itself, it's indicative of how you live your life. It's not a sign of weakness, you know. There is another way of rendering it. So many proverbs come to mind. It's just like the same thing as, you know, the tortoise. You know, I wonder what do you call it? Just trying to find the word, the language for it. And the tortoise will get to its destination, but patiently it gets there. Patiently it gets there. There is a proverb that has that. So it's not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of strength that eventually you will get to your destination. Yeah.
I quite love it because, I mean, I'm not sure if this is really biblical, but I know the scripture does say, you know, shun the very appearance of evil. Yeah. And, you know, you don't even want to see it in full effect. You know, it's an appearance, you know, and so if you're cautious,
it's more than enough.
It's more than enough. You know, it will render you weak for sure. It will render you weak. But I also believe definitely caution is not just, it's not a sign of weakness, but it's really also a sign of wisdom. We have Erica saying something here. Taking your time strengthens you. And Erica, let me St. Louis. I just want to give you a shout out, you know, to Ottawa folks, you know, chiming in. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for the feedback. Taking your time strengthens you. I do agree with that. Do you guys agree with that? Sister Leila, what's your take on what Erica has to say?
Yes, very much so. And so, like what Janice shared there in the vernacular, in Beijing we see something similar, but again, going back to context, Janice, it sounds like the opposite, but it means exactly what you said. Foolishness ain't common sense.
Yes.
Sometimes people look like they're doing something foolish, like being too cautious or taking too much time or doing something in a way that might seem inappropriate or unconventional in the moment. But if somebody's taking the time to process something, to figure out how to approach it, in the end, it's actually wiser.
Very good. Corvell, I want to hear from you, my brother, all the way in, I would say, South America, but Trinidad is a whole continent unto itself. So, you know, wisdom, give us that proverb from Trinidad. Let's hear it.
Think before you talk.
Oh, I love it.
Think before you talk. You know, sometimes you talk impulsively, you say things that you regret, things you want to take back. But they say, what jump out mouth can't come back in. You know, you have to be very cautious when you are going to do anything. So think before you talk. I think that's a cousin to that one she's giving us there.
I wonder what our viewing audience has to say about this one for sure. I know in Jamaica we say hold your tongue.
Yes.
In the Jamaican vernacular, as a secondhand smoke Jamaican, you say "kiba your tongue," kiba.
Exactly.
And I mean, again, you have to understand, like when it's whispered, it means okay, just hang on. When it's shouted with a lot of strength behind it, it means like immediately shut it down. Shut it down. Not another word.
In Barbados is another one that says "mouth open, story jump out."
That's right.
You're supposed to say that there. You open your mouth and all come out.
That's right.
Absolutely. We're gonna switch gears now, and we're gonna leave our wisdom segment, and we're gonna move right into a Proverbs of love. Now, this might not be as pretty and as lovely as we think it might be, this section.
Wow.
But I will start it off. I will start off by dropping a Proverbs. I did it in our practice run. It says, "Sweet tongue, hide bad heart." Sweet tongue, hide bad heart.
Take your time.
Right? What is, Sister Leila, go ahead.
No, I was saying take your time. Take your time.
I can expand it a little bit because actually Janice had mentioned earlier that she's a feminist, and I would like to think I'm a womanist. And in my, she knows what I'm talking about. In my early readings, Alice Walker, to be exact, in one of her prose, horses make a landscape beautiful. She had written, never give your heart to a heart eater, or he or she will stop it up and bloody grin like a god. So, sweet tongue, hide bad heart. So let's break it out. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm scared.
No. I want to defer to my pastor first. My elder. Yes.
So this also there is something that goes with it. I guess it's rendered in a different way. That is, if the festival will be entertaining or will be good, if the party will be good, it starts from the morning. And so it speaks to, this is about love as well. It speaks to the fact that, some men or some, it could be a woman too, can come and say sweet words, but deep down in their hearts, there are certain things that they exhibit that they cover up with their silver tongue. And so, it speaks to about being careful, look beyond those sweet words, but rather look at what they show you. That's who they truly are.
Okay, I'm going to challenge this section because, the whole book of Solomon has a lot of sweet tongue in it. So, Pastor,
there's a place for that. There is a place for that. But his actions during the narrative also shows that his heart and his words were linked. And that's what we have to look out for. What the words and the actions should commensurate.
Pastor preaching today, boy. Pastor preaching today.
Absolutely.
Well, that satisfy that the pastor have now spoken.
I want to hear Colville. Come.
Yes, in Trinidad we say your mama guide them.
Oh,
you have all kind of bad habit and bad things in your mind, and you say all kind of nice thing. You look real nice today, but and then you give kuya mouth. It's kuya mouth when they're not looking at you. So sweet tongue hiding bad heart. You're not bringing the truth. You're not saying what are the thoughts in your mind. Yeah. You're just talking things to make people comfortable, or even to pave the way to some destination you have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the bad heart is your destination. You really want to get something else. But a lot of mama guy, you tell them all kind of thing, and they're taking it, and eventually the bad heart would come out in actions.
I
Mama
think I
guy, I
like
love it.
Mama guy,
I like
that's
the
right.
imagery or the Canadianized or North Americanized version, a silver-tongued devil, you know?
Yes.
And it just
Yes.
paints the picture very, very clearly of someone who, as the saying is, sweet tongue hide bad heart, but the tongue is silver in the body of a devil that's carrying it. The
Wow.
visual is enough. Mm.
Wow.
That is heavy, boy.
That's boy
Yes,
heavy.
it is.
That's the mama guy, mama guy.
And you know, here again, I keep going back to what Janice said at the beginning, the context. And
Yeah.
for us, people of African descent, a lot is nonverbal. A lot of it's nonverbal. So even if you weren't watching, you wouldn't have seen the Koyamot. So
Yeah.
you would have missed the cue. So you missed what's really happening. So you got to use your eyes too.
Absolutely. Continuing under the theme of love, let's hear, Sister Leila, let's hear your take on the love proverb.
Okay, the one I chose for this section was two poor cow does make good dung.
Oh.
Two poor cow does make good dung. Now, some people may not have a clue as to what dung has anything to do with love. What is two poor cow thing? To translate it into English, a couple can overcome their poverty by pooling resources together. A couple can overcome their poverty by pooling resources together. And right away, I'm going to take you to the word Ecclesiastes 4:11. Ecclesiastes is part of the wisdom books in the Bible. It says, I'm reading from the Clear Word, when two people sleep together, they can keep each other warm, which is better than if one sleeps alone and is cold. When two people sleep together, they can keep each other warm, which is better than if each one sleeps alone and is cold. Once you come together as a couple, there's mutual benefit. And if you're intentional with putting the little bit you have together, you know, in the old time days and probably even now some places, if you have nothing else, you can take the dung from the cow and you can gather it up, dry it out, and build a house.
I love it. I love it. And the dung is recyclable. That's all I know.
Yes.
Brother Corville, give us something from Trinidad regarding love. You know, Carnival is happening right now. There's a lot of lust going on down there, but I'm not one to judge. But we want to hear something about love.
Well, some people always unhappy in love, you know, they look at other people and the thing that they tell you in Trinidad, when you're in good house, bad house always calling you.
Uh-oh.
When you're in good house, bad house just call you. You know, you look at two people, they're happy on the outside and maybe are doing things. And this also has to do with contentment with what you have. You know, be contented. You may want something different and then you jump out of one relationship into the other. And then, wow, you realize that you were in good house and you jump in bad house. That is a hell of a thing we say in Trinidad, a hell of a thing, you know, because you live in hell after that. You know?
Goodness heavens. We have Queen RPP says, love the panelists. Great to see you all. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Queen. Valerie London. Valerie London.
That is
I know this
Valerie
name.
London. Yes.
Oh my God. Hey, Val. This is
Another
really beautiful
Ottawa.
and informative.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this to us. Val, thank you for tuning in, and good to virtually see you. Janice, give us a Canadian take on love. You know, let's hear it.
Goodness. Well, I'm going to infuse mine with the Jamaican saying. So, new broom does sweep clean, but old broom knows all the corners. And this is, I think, a kick to, you know, an old fling. You know, if you have somebody new, you have a brand new car, it drives well, the engine's good, but ooh, the old car knows where all the good old turns are. I'm not even going to link that one to Proverbs. Go to Song of Solomon if you want to know more.
Reference the whole book.
Yes. You know, I mean, I say it in jest, but not. But, you know, in Song of Solomon, there's a familiarity, a knowing. I mean, it's not a new love in as much as it, you know, sounds like puppy love. It sounds like an old broom touching all of the corners of this woman's heart and pulling her to him.
You know, after this session today, I am going to order a whisk broom for Janice, and it's going to remind
Yes, and as Elsa Opong said, you better make sure it you know, it can't easily be broken. Okay.
Yes.
Sister Layla, tell us something about the love section. Let's hear from you. You know, what's your take on that?
You want another one for me?
Oh, you gave one earlier. That is true. Give us another one.
Another love one? Okay.
Yes.
Good looks can't carry to the shop.
That's a pure Bayesian one, boy. Go again.
Again. Good looks can't carry to the shop. Good looks are not enough. You know, all the maquillage and all the fine features and all the muscles. They're not practical enough to take care of the daily needs of life. So you need to find a spouse who's industrious, who's more than just a looker. You need more than just looks.
Awesome.
And that is also in the Word of God. But you can come back to me while I look that text up for you.
And you know, I might add, I really appreciate Sister Layla Seal, because she's keeping us true to the word, always making sure that we have a spiritual text, you know, because I'm sure the conference is watching. Hello, conference. And that leads us to Pastor Pong. Pastor Pong, tell us a little bit about the love thing from West Africa, Ghana. What's your proverb on love?
No, I thought Leela was going to give us the thing, but that's fine. No, Leela was going to give us the biblical inspiration there, but
it was from Proverbs 31:30. Charm is deceptive and beauty disappears, but a woman who honors the Lord will be praised.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Men too. We're going to be gender inclusive today. Everybody's included. Can't just be a looker. Come with something real.
Absolutely.
There has to be something between the two ears, you know, not the muscle, but there has to be something up here.
Absolutely.
Something we can take to the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, there is something. There is something that I want to share, and it's quite interesting. It has a village connotation. It says that it is the river or the water that loves you that enters your pot. It is the river or the water that loves you that enters your pot. You know, when people will go and fetch water, and
no.
Okay, you don't know. Okay, people will go. I know. All right. People will go down. Sorry about that. So let me explain now. Okay, you go to the riverside, and then you use a bucket or to scoop the water. It is the water that loves you that will decide to come into your pot. So that speaks to, you know, it speaks to who we are. Whoever loves you will give everything, and they will go the extra mile to come to you. And, you know, talking about Proverbs, you know, this is daytime, so I am very careful going to Songs of Solomon. So I wanted to go there, but I'll leave that alone. But it talks about, you know, drinking from your own cistern. And that also refers back to what was being mentioned earlier. It's important that, you know, whoever that you are in love with, that this person also is able to love you for who you are in total. And so they are the ones who will enter your pot. And just like the broom will be able to really navigate all the areas in which they are supposed to. And that is more lasting than jumping from one area to the other. So it's the water that loves you that will enter into your pot. And your pot well, it's what will also keep the water sweet, and the water will keep the pot will keep the water sweet.
I think though it's also a call to action, for Black love, because you know you can have all the new things, all the fandangles, as we say, but taking the time to invest ensures that as the broom, you can enter those corners, those spaces that are closed, that are hidden, that are damaged. And as Black people who work or engage in a predominantly white world that does not care to know our corners, this call to action to know the old corners, to know those places, is a revolutionary step. It's an important step. It's a call to action, and it's a brave step as well in the context of love.
Absolutely. I fully agree with what Sister Janice is saying there. Absolutely. And, as a person who writes myself, I like the wording of Pastor Pong's proverb, which is, "It is the river that loves you that enters your port." And what do we find in the river? First, we see the water, of course, but there's so much more. I mean, you could go into still waters run deep, so there's still a cautionary tale there. But the whole idea that water is life. Water is a part of life. Actually, we consist of water predominantly, and so it makes sense that that which runs deep, runs shallow, certainly can be something that can keep you afloat or keep you buoyant. And I like the whole idea of, holding space. Oftentimes we hold space with members who, as Janice would say, who are not quite, who don't invest the time to really know who we are. And we spoke about this last night, which is like code switching. We oftentimes use Proverbs in order to navigate our spaces and to survive. So it's good to hear that. Let's move now into the third segment, which is life teaching. So for those joining us online, we have passed through wisdom, we have meandered through love, and now we're going into the life teaching section, and we're going to just ask really quickly for a proverb on the life teaching section, and we welcome our viewing audience to just in our chat, just tell us what you think, give us your feedback. We're always happy to hear from you. I see there at Toronto West SDA Church, share your proverbs with us. Yes, that's about life teaching, so that's good to hear. All right, let's start up the section with Trinidad. Let's go over to Trinidad and Tobago. Let me hear from you around life teaching, Brother Koga.
Yeah. Cattle horn, never too heavy for your head. Cattle horn, never too heavy for your head. And that is a lesson about responsibility. In this day and age where we have so many children being neglected by parents, they belong to parents, and parents must be able to take on whatever responsibilities having children would bring to them. The cattle horn must never be too heavy for the head. And I want to kind of show a spiritual side of it, where Christ is the best example, because he created us. And sometimes, as the cattle, we could be so heavy for Christ's head.
Mercy.
But he gives his love to us all the same. He does all to take care of our sinful nature. And he even went as far as to die so that we could have life.
Amen.
We cannot do anything that is going to be too much for Christ to forgive, too much for his love and salvation. Cattle horn, never too heavy for your head.
I love it. Brother Saint-Hilaire. Moving to Sister Layla Seal, Elder, how do you build on that around a life teaching? Let's hear from you.
The one I chose for this section is a simple one, but again, it has so many layers to it. It says every bush is a man. Every bush is a man. And I'm sure
specifically,
pardon?
Specifically, it's a gendered notion.
well, Sister Leila, you said earlier to be gender inclusive. I'm concerned about your conduct right now.
As we speak proverbially, you know, the Holy Spirit showed up as a dove. So he didn't even come male or female in that instance. So in this case, it's going to have many layers again. Every bush is a man. But the meaning of it is be aware of what you say, because people are always listening, whether you realize it or not. Be aware of what you say, because people are always listening, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes, you know, growing up, you're learning to control your passions. You may speak loudly or out of turn, not realizing that your neighbor who you're upset with can actually hear you. And you might be speaking in a moment of anger, not intending for them to hear. And then it creates a war between you and your neighbor that lasts for years. But your parents teach you, listen, every bush is a man. And there's so much wisdom in the word. There's 2 texts in there that I wanted to share about. The key one is Ecclesiastes 10:20. Ecclesiastes 10:20. And again, I'm reading from the clear word. It says, don't criticize the king in private or curse the rich, even in the privacy of your bedroom, because a little bird might tell all he said.
Mercy.
And the reason why I was talking with Janice just now is because in this case, how the Bible interprets it is not even a human now. It's a bird carrying the message.
Yes.
The text, which I'll just throw out there for reference, which is great Sabbath afternoon conversation and fodder, is the whole story in 2 Kings in chapter 6, 2 Kings 6. And the verses in 11 and 12, the king was upset. The king of Ammon, I think it was just mad because he was fighting with Israel. And he's like, one of you guys is a spy. Somebody in here is telling Israel what is happening. Who of us is a spy? And the servant, no king, is not any of us. The prophet Elisha in Israel, God tells him everything you say in your bedroom.
Mercy.
I thought that was one of the funniest stories in the whole Bible, because the word of God says that God reveals his secrets to his servants, the prophets. So even mind what you say, even in the privacy of your very closed space, it can be carried. However it happens, it gets done. So let praise be what's on your lips and mind what's in your heart.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, everybody's...
just a funny footnote to that. I gifted my parents an Alexa. Should they unplug it? Because every man is a bush right now. I mean, we're here with the technology.
Alexa tells all.
Alexa tells all. Tell you all to do.
Sister Janice, as you're there, give us the life teaching from your perspective.
I have a couple, but I'll start with this one. Don't watch no face. And this is referenced in Jeremiah when he had to tell the people about all of the evil that they were doing and to warn them to make a turn. And he was afraid to do this job. And the Lord said to him, listen, don't watch any face. Set your face straight to do this work. And for me, this resonates as a woman, because it means that I can't be distracted by, you know, people thinking that as a woman, you cannot do this or be here. As a Black person, particularly in this time of living through Black Lives Matter, we have to have the courage to speak the truth to social and political injustice. We have to have the courage to not look at white fear for, you know, our cues in speaking our truth. We cannot watch any face. We have to speak and stay the course, pursue excellence, and move that barrier away and move the steps forward. We can't watch any face now.
Well said.
I love it. Well said. Everybody in this section, this live teaching section, is preaching this afternoon. Now, viewing audience, don't expect any preaching from me. Let's go to the pastor. Is Pastor Fung still with us? If he isn't, we'll catch him in the next section. We're going to take a quick video break right now, and then we'll come back to a viewing audience. Welcome. Welcome back, everyone. I'm just loving, as I promised, we were going to have laughter. We had laughter. We're going to have reflections, and we had reflections. We're going to have revelations, and we had some revelations. No, what's so interesting about this discussion, it's not just fixed on my four amazing guests. It's also fixed on our viewing audience. And I'd like to read a few of the quotes. Panelists, I want you to, I'm going to just pick a few random ones from our chat, and I'm going to select a panelist to just, give a feedback on this particular quote. So I'm going to go with, it's moving so quickly. I'm wearing bifocals, folks. Go easy with me this afternoon.
That's why we were all like this.
Yeah, right. All right, here it is. Stephen Abdul Bojor, he says it is important for the pot to be strong enough to hold the water. I give that one to Sister Leila. It's important for the pot to be strong enough to hold the water.
Another Ottawa viewer, by the way. I just want to say,
we love Ottawa.
Brother Stephen, I'm gonna poke at you. Sounds like he had some deep, deep, deep love that he was trying to pour into or something. But yes, I'm going to use the pot as the ladies. Ladies, if you have a gentleman that's loving you, you better get strong and hold that water. Take the love. On every level, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, improve yourself, recognize the love, and contain it and keep it. And let the fire turn it up, let it boil.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, the imagery that comes to mind, because the visual is so important, is the difference between a Dutch pot and some of the Teflon pots. You can put anything in a Dutch pot, right? And it will work, it will cook, it will come to fruition. So for those of you who are celebrating Valentine's, I hope you have a Dutch pot kind of love.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I have one here from Lorraine Robinson. Okay, where she says marriage and no food truck. Yeah, marriage and a food truck. She's definitely Jamaican for sure. I'm sure. I'm going to give this one to. I'm going to send it to Trinidad. This Jamaican version of marriage and a food truck. Kovel, tell us what you think on that.
Yeah, like in Trinidad, you would say it's not a bed of roses. So people feel, well, marriage is like the fairy tale and they live happily ever after. But there are ups and downs, and the food truck would indicate total satisfaction. You have everything you want. But marriage does not bring total satisfaction. It's not the food truck. I would like to say marriage does not bring the food cooked. You have to get the food off the truck probably and cook it. Then you can enjoy it. So marriage does not actually bring the happiness in itself. You have to make it happy.
Well, come on now.
I tell you, but I said to her, you're ready to preach. So take the preacher into preaching. All right. One more. I put one more in the pot here, in the Dutchy pot. Joy Bell says, Rockstone a river bottom, no sun hot. Rockstone a river bottom, no sun hot. All right, so I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it to you, Pastor. Don't look down. Don't look down. Look up. Look up.
I'm trying to Rockstone.
Yes,
river bottom.
Yes.
No sun. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to put my patois head on to see the rockstone is at the bottom of the river. Yeah. It doesn't see the sun. And so most of the deep things are buried underneath. And so to bring it out, and if we are in the context of love, we have to really give in order to receive. And so you need to really dig deep in order to find the gems in which you need in a relationship, in a marriage.
Awesome. I'll give the last one to Janice Anderson from Jamie Jarvis. And these names sound so familiar. It says, Janice, whatever you do, do with your might. Things done by halves are never done right. Whatever you do with your might. Things done by halves are never done right. This must be a poet. I love it. It's rhyming.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So Janice, what's your take on that?
I mean, isn't that a line about excellence and coming from someone who is a young person, a young Black man, affirming that in their vocabulary, hopefully putting it into practice? It's powerful because we need people in this time, in this place, in our community who will go the full mile, who will reflect the work of our ancestors to those who have gone before, who tried to go the full mile but were cut off, stopped too soon. And so now we need those who will carry the torch to the end of the road. Go the full mile. Go the full mile.
I love it. I love it. We're nearing the end of our broadcast. I'm going to ask each of our wonderful guests to share 30 seconds of just a recap on whether it be wisdom, whether it be love, whether it be life teaching, and then we'll do a wrap up. But I want to thank our viewing audience for the participation. We really appreciate you joining, spending the afternoon with us. Starting with Sister Layla, 30 seconds. Give us your summary on this whole journey of Proverbs to Proverbs.
I want to quote the great African writer Chinua Achebe from Things Fall Apart fame. Proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten. Proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten. The proverb, when you put your thoughts, the proverb becomes the gravy. You know, you can have bread, but, you know, bread with fish is a different meal. You can have bami, but bami with, you know, and the proverb serves as the sauce, and it calls out the creativity, it calls out depth, it calls out layering, and it gives us that opportunity to code values and much more into that saying and put it in a small, ready-to-go package for generations to come.
Awesome. Sister Janice Anderson, let's hear from you. Your 30 seconds summary of this program.
Well, first and foremost, I have to shout out my dad. Happy birthday. He raised us in a household of proverbs. Some of them I can't even remember or even know what they mean. But thanks, Dad, and happy birthday to you. But I want to share this proverb. Until the story of the hunt is told by the lion, the victory will always favor the hunter. And I learned that proverb when I went to Ghana. And sitting in this forum where we have had the time to laugh and share the words that have sustained us, we are telling the stories of the lion, and we will continue to sustain ourselves when we speak our truth through our proverbs. So thank you.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much. But Pastor Pong, let's hear from you.
Thank you so much. No, it's been a pleasure being here, and I intentionally didn't want to be a preacher preaching. And so what I have enjoyed is this, that, you know, Curtis Ambrose put something in the chat that one hand can't clap. You know, it's one person, one head cannot hold counsel. And so in the space in which we live, there's a saying that if a child knows how to wash their hands, they eat with the elders. You know, in most Ghanaian dishes, you eat with your hands. And so it is when we learn these proverbs that when we are in spaces, we are able to communicate and we are able to understand each other better. And we understand really our worldview and the philosophies that really makes who we are. And that speaks to how we can journey on forward together and not alone. So it's important that we work together and that in unity there is strength. And so we learn from one another, but we learn from the people, you know, yesterday, because what the old man or old woman has seen, you know, a young person climbing the tallest tree will not be able to see it. And so we learn from experiences. The Proverbs feeds into our worldview, and that shapes our tomorrow.
I love it. I love it. That paradigm is very important. Last but certainly not least, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago, Brother Colville, St. give us the take. Give us the take. Let's hear it.
You know, I couldn't help thinking of Christ and how he taught by parables.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that the people who came up with these parables, how much spiritual connection they had with Christ to give us all these lifelong lessons. And you know, because of the history, sometimes we may not want to give credit to the people who actually came up with these sayings to guide a whole generation through life, you know? So I want to think of this, the work of Christ among the people. And I want to remind us as I leave with one thing. We may have been judged for many different things, but there's a proverb that I want to end up with. And it always says, thief don't like to see nobody with a bag. That's my take.
I think it's a warning to the dominant culture not to steal our words. I'm just saying.
All right. Oh,
I knew we were going to end on a political note somehow, some way. Well, we're banked for time here, but I want to thank each and every one of my guests: Elder Layla Seal, Janice Anderson, Pastor Apong, Colville Saint-Hilaire. We appreciate you. And to all of you and guests, we appreciate you as well. Just want to give you some update. Join WestLINK next Sabbath, all right? Same time, same place, different faces. They won't be as cute and handsome as what we see here today. And the host will be Greg Burkett, discussing Adventist activism. Titled "Be the Difference You Seek." So, I mean, that's going to be. I can't wait. I'm going to be logging in as well next week. So with Greg Burkett. Until we meet, whether it be virtual or in person, and as we are all, fighting this COVID, let's be real. Let's give some public messaging here. Please practice, washing your hands, keeping safe distance, wearing a mask. Checking on our elders, checking on our seniors, give them a phone call, checking on family members. A kind word is all that it takes. All right. Till you walk in faith, you walk in love. And as we say in Jamaica, walk good. Till next time, this is WestLINK.
Well, good.
All right, God bless
Take
you.
care. God bless. God bless everyone.